So I want you to think about when I say the word chatbots, what's your initial reaction? Is it positive or is it negative? Well, if you are like me, and probably a lot of people, your initial gut reaction when you hear that word may be a little bit negative. And I know that's how mine was up until September of this past year. Now, I promise there's a reason why I'm talking about chatbots on this podcast. I know you guys are like, okay, Elyse, this is about relationship building, networking, personal branding. You do not talk about super technical stuff most of the time. So what is this all about? I promise there's a reason. Just stay with me. So I was at a networking event, a mastermind I'm a part of called Meeting of the Minds, back in this past fall of 2018. And I was at an event in Bermuda. I know, terrible place to have to go for an event, but somebody's got to do it. So I was there and there was maybe, I'd say 20-ish people there. And one of the guys who I met is this guy named Andrew Bilak. And I learned that he runs a company called RoyalWood Media, and they do chatbot marketing, which apparently is better called conversational commerce, which I also learned. But he does, so they do chatbots essentially. And I remember he was slated to give a 15-minute presentation the same day that I was. And I heard that he was going to be talking about chatbots. And my initial reaction was, it was a negative one. I had these feelings like, oh, well, that's pretending to automate the relation, or it's automating the relationship, and it's pretending to build a relationship with somebody when you're not a live human. And I just didn't have a good feeling about it. And in 15 minutes of him talking, my mind totally changed. And I realized that it really wasn't fair to make a judgment without being educated, as with most things in life. And I learned so much that I wanted to bring him on the show today to talk to you, because I think for most people who listen here, we really care about building deeper relationships with our clients, with our customers, with our referral network. And we also care about making the experience of working with us easy, making it frictionless, as Andrew says, making it better. And one of the things that he really opened my eyes to was the fact that chatbots are something that can do all of those things. And I know I don't go into a whole lot of technical, more analytical, like engineering themed topics on this show. And we don't do that here. Really, what we focus on, what Andrew helps teach us, and part of what I really appreciated about what he shared on the show is really more about how could you actually use this technology to help build relationships. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is that I would say 2, 3, 5, definitely 6, 7, 8, 9 years out, it's like this will be extremely common. And you'll have to use something like this if you want to keep your clients and prospects engaged. I shouldn't say have to, but it would be a really good idea. So for the people who do this now, or people who look into having technology now that really helps make it easier for their customers to engage and interact with them, they are going to have a distinct advantage above everybody else. And so full disclosure, I'm looking at implementing this technology on my website and on some of my social sites as I build those out. And I think it's something that would be worth you looking at as well. I don't have an affiliate partnership or anything with Andrew. I just really think it could be a good idea. And so I'm excited to bring him to you today to share how they work, how you can use it to make the customer experience better, to dispel any myths or misjudgments that we may have about them, and just to kind of open your mind to different ways that you can deliver a better customer experience. And so with that, I would ask that you go into this with a really open mind and just with an excitement to learn and to think about better ways to serve your clients and your prospects. And you never know, you may end up being a convert like me. So with that, guys, I'm really excited to bring you this interview with Andrew, and I think you're going to receive a lot of value and a lot of new ideas from this. So please stay tuned, because we're about to jump in with my friend, Andrew Bilak. All right, Andrew, it is so good to have you on the Instant Impact podcast, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited about this. It's a great way to start off the year.
Right? Yeah. So you and I were like, we were dying laughing before I hit record here. At a certain point, we're like, okay, we just have to hit record because this is going downhill. So for those of you who are not watching on video, I've got my assistant / sidekick Bailey behind me, who keeps like emerging and crawling over me and just kind of inserting herself into the videos. So we're going to try to keep it together, but we were laughing, crying because it was just so awkward for a while. But Hopefully she's going to hold it together. I've got her behind me with my elbow right now. So, but Andrew, you and I met back in September, I think it was, in Bermuda, which is not a terrible place to have to go on a work trip, right?
No, not at all. It was amazing.
So you and I are both members of a mastermind group called Meeting of the Minds, run by our friend Jared Kleinert, who USA Today calls the most connected millennial in the United States, which I think is actually true. I don't think that's an overreach. I'm pretty sure he is. So we were there for this mastermind event, and you and I were both slated to give these presentations on one of the days. And I think it was called like $15,000 worth of value in 15 minutes, something kind of cool and snazzy and good like that.
Yeah,
So,
Jared plugged me in the last minute. He's like, yeah, you want to talk about Vietnam? I was like, okay, yeah, sure, let's do it.
gotta love it. You like don't even have time to get scared at that point because you're just like, crap, what am I going to
Nope.
talk about?
Like, so you're up in like tomorrow. I'm like, oh, up for what? It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic.
I don't think I realized you went on that last minute because what you delivered was so good. And that's part of why I wanted to bring you on. So Jared introduces you and he says, okay, so Andrew's the founder of this company called RoyalWood Media, and he's going to tell us all about chatbots. And I remember, and I'll just be real honest, I had this like initial kind of negative reaction. Now, here's the thing. I didn't even really know what they were. So this is where it's like shame on me because I was uneducated, but I just had this kind of negative initial reaction. But I was curious to hear what you had to say. So like my initial reaction was, oh, it feels like it's impersonal and it's like trying to automate relationships. But you stood up and in 15 minutes, you totally changed my mind. And I got so excited about the idea of how you could use chatbots to deepen relationships, to better serve customers, to do things better in your business, that I wanted to bring you on today to kind of explore, like, is it possible to deepen a relationship through stuff like chatbots, and how do we do it? So with that long preamble, can you give a little bit of a background for the uninitiated into what chatbots are and what you do at RoyalWood Media?
Yeah, absolutely. So initially, when I started this agency about 2 years ago, and essentially we were just a digital marketing agency that focused predominantly on social media marketing. And so when I kind of started to understand and this is the keyword here, the conversational commerce space, I'll get to that in a minute, was about 2 years ago. And that was a really eye-opening experience, because when you hear the word chatbot, a lot of people are prefaced with their own kind of experience with the chatbot. And typically the chatbot is that pesky guy that pops up on a website and says, hey, can I help you with anything today? And that is a big misconception for what they are. And essentially, in its simplest form, chatbots are a computer program via text or auditory that simulate a conversational partner, a human-to-human kind of conversation, will you? And so essentially what we do is we help businesses and brands create more meaningful conversations with their customers and their clients. And so in its most basic form, yeah, conversational commerce is a massive industry, and it's poised to continue to grow massively over the next, say, 5 to 10 years. And chatbots are where we've kind of pivoted from social media marketing and gone into this conversational commerce space.
So, okay, so when somebody says conversational commerce, is that kind of the umbrella term for chatbots, or is there anything else that would fall within the category of conversational commerce?
Yeah, voice interaction like Google, Alexa, anything, like I said, that's auditory or text-based, that kind of mimics that conversation that you have with someone else, but can be delivered via a computer program.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was a new term for me. Seeing it in your bio was actually the first time I'd ever seen it. And so I thought, I want to find out more about this, because I'm guessing I'm not the only one who hasn't heard of it before. So take us back. You've got kind of an interesting backstory as far as what made you pivot from more traditional social media marketing into chatbots. So tell us a little bit about like what helped you make that transition? How did you get into this space, and kind of take us through that backstory?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always had unbeknownst to me, at a younger age, I had an entrepreneurial backbone that I discovered. I mean, I think the first time my parents took me to Blockbuster and I saw this whole notion of borrowing videos, I said, can we start lending out the videos from our basement? And they're like, no, you're not doing this.
That's great.
And so through university, I had to get a job, right? In the summer months going home, and I was like, I don't want to work in an office. I don't want to do 9 to 5. So I decided to work outdoors for a window cleaning company. 3 days after kind of understanding the business, I quit and I started my own. And that kind of got me through university, those 4 years. And so along the way, I didn't really hook into anything that kind of interested me enough to dive in and take that entrepreneurial risk again. So I did the corporate job, the 9 to 5. I worked a lot of sales gigs until finally, a few years back, I was like, I'm going to jump into social media marketing. I'm pretty savvy with this stuff. Let's create something. And so what I did was I started off going from exploring the hospitality industry. So I was going from restaurant to restaurant, and the way that I was getting in and getting clients was I started an Instagram account. I told them I'd take photos of the account, put it on there for exposure, and we'd have that discussion about coming on as a client. And it wasn't until, and I wrote about this, and this was the article that you saw that kind of piqued your interest, was I wrote an article saying how creme brulee started my Chatbot agency. And this was when essentially I was still doing the social media marketing, and I was coming in, and there was this restaurant that I was at, and it came out with a creme brulee. I was hovering over it with my DSLR. I was taking photos, and I was scrolling through, and I probably had like 20, 30 pictures of this creme brulee. And I had this aha moment. I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, I never in a million years wanted to or thought I would be sitting here taking pictures of food. Like, it's just, and I made that connection. I was like, I got to find something that I resonate with more, that I connect with on a deeper level. And that's where kind of chatbots just emerged, when I kind of made that mental switch. And I was like, I need something different. I need something that's going to be here for the long haul. And not to say social media isn't, or social media marketing, but to me, that's a bit of a saturated market. And so I started learning about chatbots. A friend of mine, we connected, a long lost friend from high school. He was like, oh, I'm learning about these things called chatbots. And just like anyone I talk to, they have that preconceived notion that I had when I first heard it. I was like, yeah, that's cool, man. Sure, chatbot sounds good. But once I started to get to know this and understand that this was early days for conversational commerce, for chatbots, for businesses and brands to connect with their customers, their clients on a much deeper level, I jumped in with 2 feet. I'd never looked back. It's been 2 years now, and we work with a wide variety of industries, building out different conversational experiences, mostly through Messenger, Facebook Messenger, that have helped them bridge the gap either between the relationships with their clients, their customers, or even internally, streamlining, creating frictionless processes that have tremendously shifted their business and poised to kind of be able to reap the benefits of this as the years go on.
Yeah, so that was interesting to me to learn that there's both more outward facing as well as inward facing internal applications that a company could use for them. I want to focus more, for the purposes of this interview, on more of the external client facing, because that's really, for people who are listening to this podcast, like the thing that they're really interested in is, how do I build deeper relationships with my clients, with my referral partners, with people who maybe are following me online, but I don't know yet. And so it's really about, how do we build these deeper relationships with people and do it in less time? So I want to hear your take, for somebody who kind of has that initial, like I did, where I don't know if this is really relationship building. What would you say, and maybe it's helpful to give some examples, but what would you say about how using something like chatbots in your external client facing work could actually help you deepen relationships rather than impersonalizing it, for lack of a better word?
Absolutely, 100%. So the basic element of it is you're creating that initial touch point. Chatbots are there, and they can exist on your website, through your social media, through Messenger. I mean, you hear these things, Facebook Messenger chatbots, for example, and you think that it just belongs in Messenger. Well, that's true. It's kind of home where it needs to be. But at the same point, you can tie in all of the existing marketing methods that you have. And by doing that, no matter the touch point where someone interacts with your chatbot, like I said, whether it's social media, whether your email list, whether it's on your website, when they interact with that, they're going to have that same experience across any platform. And the whole purpose of this experience is to engage and provide a unique experience and conversation. That initial touch point is so key. Think about any time you interact with a brand. Think about any time that, say you have a question and doesn't get answered. That split second, that point of contact, if it's a negative experience, you might have lost someone as a lifelong customer forever. And you'll never know, and you'll never get that second opportunity to do that again. So what chatbots do, conversational commerce at its core, is that it provides that initial interaction where you can pretty much put in anything and everything about your brand, your business, that people would want to know or would be interesting to pique people's curiosity. So essentially, if someone interacts with your brand, they can find out, who. Let's use you for example. If you created your own chatbot, you could have that initial touch point where people can learn about who you are, your journey, what it is that you do, the things that you're interested outside of your zone of genius. And that stuff is very interesting to people. That stuff is what curates that curiosity about who you are. And not to mention, the minute someone interacts with your chatbot, you captured that traffic. So if someone comes in, they learn about you, you can see everything that they're doing. The value you're providing is at scale across any platform. And then you have the ability to follow up with those people as soon as they interact with it. So it's a massive, massive level up that you have. So, if someone comes in through your Instagram page and they go away, you might not, and they don't follow you, you'll never know. They'll just be that simple impression that came and went. And who knows, they could be a massive business opportunity. They could turn into a lifelong transformational relationship. And that's the power here.
Okay, so I have so many questions right now. So this is good. Okay, so for somebody who is kind of like me, like a consultant, a speaker, a coach, an author, tell me more about how that would work, because that's a number of people listening here. So like if you came to my website and I had a chatbot on it, and you talked about like, it can talk about my outside interests, what I'm passionate about. So is it a live chat that I'm going to ask really basic questions, because that's where I'm at with this right now. And that's probably where a lot of people are. Is it a live chat that would show up on my website and it would basically be like, hey, I'm Elyse, can I help you with any questions? And then it just is pre-programmed with any sort of information I want to give it that somebody might ask, or how would that work?
Yeah, so it's not live, like you said in the second part there. It's predetermined sequences that have been built out ahead of time. I mean, there's two elements. I want to keep this super high level, but you can create a chatbot that essentially, let's call it a chatbot with a brain. So you could ask a question like, hey, how's the weather? And it's programmed to respond, right? And it'll give you that answer. But chatbots without a brain are essentially ones that you've built out ahead of time. And it's very black and white with what people can do. So for example, let's use your website, for example. Someone comes in, there's that widget, they click on it. The minute that they click on it, they've opted in to be a subscriber to your chatbot. So right away, this is list building at scale. So that's the opt-in. Once they click, you now have the ability to follow up with them whenever you want to through that medium.
Okay, I'm going to pause really, really quick there, because that was another thing I want to understand. How does that work? How does that work? So I guess I'm not understanding how I would follow up with somebody through a chatbot / how would list building work with a chatbot? So explain that, and then we'll keep going down the path we were going.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, let's use the example of Facebook Messenger. Okay. If that Messenger chatbot is the one that's existing across all of your marketing mediums. So anytime that someone interacts with it, they're going to be redirected to Messenger. And that's where you're going to follow up with those people. And so these chatbots are built on third-party platforms, essentially. So, you can log into the dashboard. You can see everything every medium that someone has interacted with you. You can see everything that they've clicked on. So in the back end, you have the ability to have this highly targeted list of people who have, for example, have come in through your website, have clicked on your FAQ, have clicked on your testimonials, and have gone to schedule a call. That to me is someone who's primed and interested in the services that you have to offer. And as a marketer, as a business, as a brand, that's powerful information to have that you didn't do any heavy lifting for. You just log into the backend and you can see all of these characteristics about what people have done in your chatbot. But that exists in Messenger. Those conversations that you have are existing in Messenger as we build these out on the Messenger platform.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, for the most part. I mean, here's the thing. At the end of the day, I don't know that I'm ever going to totally get all of this, and that's why people can just call you, but I'm getting more of it.
Oh, I'm trying to break it down as easily as possible. So
yeah, that's
Messenger
fair.
is the home. That's where
Yeah.
you have those conversations, but you can essentially put your chatbot, in your Instagram, the link in your Instagram bio, a link in your email list, on your website. Anytime someone clicks on that, that conversation will start in Messenger, but it will pick up wherever you left off. So if someone came to your website, opened it there, and they left, but later on they go on Facebook and they go on Messenger, that same conversation they started on your website is left off exactly where it was, but now they can pick it up in Messenger.
Ooh, okay. I'm getting more of it. That's super valuable, because when we think about how consumer behavior is today and the fact that we're flitting from website to website and social site to social site, you probably have stats on this somewhere, but the retention rate of keeping conversations going, it's like it's hard to keep a conversation going with somebody on one specific platform, because there's 10 different ways that somebody can choose to try to interact with us. So what I like about that is that no matter where they go, I can continue the conversation. So I see a lot of value in that.
Yeah,
So
we're so inundated with ads and bombarded with information that, like, you hit the nail on the head, that where we pick up that conversation or where we did something, 5 seconds, 5 minutes, an hour later, we've totally forgot about that. So whether you're at home watching TV, going through a chatbot, or whether you're connected to Wi-Fi on a flight at 30,000 feet, wherever you engage in that conversation, it's going to pick up right where you left off.
So if I have a chatbot on my site or my Instagram or wherever it is, does it look like me? Like, do you guys recommend having it kind of appear to be the person, or do you recommend having it more transparent, that it's like, hey, this is it's a bot. I'm not pretending like I'm a real person, but I'm here to help you. Like, how do you set that up?
Yeah, for the most part, we don't try and kind of make believe that this is a live interaction. We always preface people, and we always recommend that with our clients as well. But we always suggest creating a theme for it. So, people start off, or businesses and brands that we worked with, start off by saying, "Hey, welcome to so-and-so chatbot," or create a name behind it, or create a fictional character that guides them through the experience. Or if it's, someone who's doing their own personal brand, it's their voice, it's their theme. So there's different ways to do it, and it's really fun. You can add GIFs, emojis. The whole concept is to make it interactive, engaging, entertaining, that people would love to come to and go through and get the information that they need.
I really like that, because that's one thing that also I had a misconception about, that it was going to be masquerading as me, or it was deceptive. And so I really like that you almost flaunt that and make it like the fictional character, or just have fun with it, because people get it. I mean, people aren't dumb. They understand that they're not talking to you. And if you try to make it seem like they are, you lose the trust. And I think that's where you could go wrong with something like this. But here's where, personal example, I'm kind of dealing with this right now. Here's part of why I like this concept so much is, I think one of the most important things for us in business today is to make it super easy for our clients to get the information they need and to interact with us. So I told you in the pre-chat that I'm currently searching for a remote office space. And you saw that because my dog is crawling all over me, and I'm like, I just can't do this. This just isn't working. I had a remote office before at my former company and I loved it. And when I left, I was like, okay, I need to go lean and save some money. And so I've been working from home for a while, but now I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I know I work a lot better when I'm out and about and with other people. And so I'm searching. And so there's 2 companies in the Atlanta area that I'm kind of evaluating, and both are relatively big names. But one of them we've only had email interaction, but they've been super responsive. They've answered all of my questions. They've told me exactly what the rates are, and they've been super easy to work with. The other company, which is actually a bigger name, has made it really challenging for me to get the information I'm looking for. And they're forcing me to, this sales guy who I'm talking to, it's like, he's a nice guy, but I can tell he has a script he has to follow, and he's not allowed to give me prices unless I schedule a tour. And so he's asking me to schedule 3 separate tours at 3 separate locations because he's telling me he cannot tell me the specials unless I'm there in person. And I know the gig. I mean, I come from sales training, so I get it. Like, they feel like I'm not prepared to hear the cost until I'm there in person and they can close me. But it's been it's just been a turnoff to have to work that hard to get the information I'm looking for. And I think for somebody who's earlier on in the buying process, yeah, maybe they need to be nurtured and they need more of that lead up. But for somebody who's ready to buy and who just wants the information, if you make it hard for them, then they're going to go somewhere else. And I actually sent him an email this morning saying that. And I was kind of like, oh, do I tell him? Do I not? I don't want to hurt his feelings. I know he's just doing his job, but they're going to lose my business because they're making this difficult. And so if they would just make it simple to get what I wanted, to me, I would have a better relationship with that company because it would have been a much more positive user experience. So that's part of where, to me, I see so much value in just making it really easy for people to engage and interact with you. And that's part of why I think being transparent about the fact that it is not a real human, but you're making that relationship building process faster and easier. It's a win-win. So long tangent, but that's like my personal example of where I wish this company was doing something like that because they would have a client in me.
Absolutely. I think the one word I can use to sum all of that up, that, you know, brands and businesses need to make part of their vocabulary, is frictionless. The whole interaction between a new customer, a returning customer, you know, a customer that's been with the business for years, you know, no matter where they are in that journey, the entire interaction needs to be frictionless.
Yeah,
You know, you can't trick people these days. You can't hide, right? This is the reason why I love conversational commerce so much, is because businesses and brands now have a social responsibility to be able to deliver information that people want and need, because there's no way for them to kind of say, hey, well, you know, based on this, and this, and this, this is how long it'll take us to get information to you or respond to you. And at the end of the day, no matter how transparent or how open businesses are about that, the consumer doesn't care. There's very small brand allegiance these days. Mind you, you know, some people have completely bought into massive brands. You know, like, for example, you know, Apple here, it's, you know, they've built up this huge brand, but for the most part, you know, other businesses and brands don't necessarily have that luxury. You know, you need to be able to provide the information that people are looking for instantaneously, no matter how fast they think it is. You know, if they say 2 minutes, well, someone wants it in 1 minute. Someone wants it in 1 minute, you know, someone demands it in 10 seconds. And whether that's unreasonable or not, the market decides that value. So you need to have a frictionless process that delivers value at scale instantaneously. And that's what conversational commerce has allowed us to do. Whether it's voice, whether it's chat, this is the frontier, the new frontier that businesses need to adopt.
Absolutely. So tell me about, maybe give like 1 or 2 examples of some clients of yours and share their industries, because I think it's important to get some ideas of different industries that could use this, but where they've used chatbots and they've used this conversational commerce to deepen relationships with their clients and get better results as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're in a wide range of industries, so I'll just kind of list off some examples. For example, in hospitality, you know, we have a major restaurant client that has increased the amount of reservations, event bookings, and sales all through chat. Because before, all they had to do with, you know, reservations, you either call in or you kind of go to the website and book online. By hooking in a chatbot that exists across all of their marketing mediums, their website, their social media pages. Essentially, if someone wants to go book, the more you're present there and the more people and their customers start to understand that this is a new avenue that they can trust to be able to get the information or to get the bookings or to purchase through, more and more people start to adopt that. And so in hospitality, we've seen a huge surge in that frictionless process in booking reservations, in selling online, selling their products, and booking events. Another one would be chiropractic in the healthcare niche. We essentially have created a way for chiropractors to create this valuable interaction that is super important to acquiring customers and acquiring patients and nurturing patients. And so by doing that, you know, chiropractors, there's about 100,000 of them. And so, in a small industry like that, put it into context, chiropractors need to do what they focus on best, and that's providing, the healthcare that people are coming to see them for. So at the end of the day, marketing isn't, high on their list, but if you're providing them with a way to engage, to acquire patients and retain them, you have this amazing new tool that they don't need to spend more of their time focusing on things that aren't their zone of genius. Mm-hmm. Another one would be the automotive industry. We're working with a major car manufacturer here in Canada. And essentially what we've done is we've created an internal ability for them to alleviate the amount of calls that come into their customer service phone line. And by implementing a chatbot that answers their most frequently asked questions through a way that doesn't require that human element, that's automation at its finest, right? That's delivering value to people instantaneously that in the automotive industry is very unforgiving. You get a lot of people that are very unhappy about their services with their vehicles. And so by being able to facilitate that 24/7, 365, that's a huge leg up in that industry. Yeah. E-commerce is a huge one. We have the ability to not only sell more products, but do it in a way that, like I said before, as soon as someone interacts with your chatbot, they become subscribed to it. So if someone comes, they add something to their cart, but they abandon it, through Messenger, we have the ability to send an automated follow-up message with a further value proposition, whether that's an add-on to their cart for free, whether that's a discount. By doing so, in setting that up automatically, that is drastically, mind you, in the context of a lower price point, that's 2x the return on some businesses' bottom line, because they're able to provide value at scale, but do it in a way that, once again, doesn't create a burden to hire more staff or be on the ball in that live element. It's all automated. It's value at scale. It's conversational commerce at its finest.
Mm. So what I love about what you just shared, and what I think is interesting, is that those different industries, from restaurants to e-commerce to chiropractic to automotive, are wildly different price points. So one of the things that I can imagine people might wonder is, okay, this stuff sounds like it would be expensive. But what I'm hearing from you is you don't necessarily have to have a high ticket item that you're selling for it to make sense. So how does somebody figure out ROI? And can you just tell us, is it expensive is all relative, right? But what's a typical price point that somebody would pay? What's a typical investment? How do you help people figure out their ROI? What would that sound like?
Yeah, absolutely. At the very foundation of it, you have to understand in that niche, the main problem that you're solving. So as you brought to light, we're in a wide variety of industries. At the core, they're very similar pains, just dressed up in different vernacular for that industry. And so what that means is that if you can come in and that pain you're solving, you can be very direct with what the chatbot functionality will be. I mean, you don't necessarily need to come in and say, hey, we can do FAQs, we can do the brand story, we can do services, we can do products. At the end of the day, if their biggest issue is providing better customer service, then you find a way, and we help our clients create a way for people to find the chatbot, to interact and engage with it, and for them to understand that this is a bit of a longer game, especially in the customer service industry, because people need to understand that this is the new platform that they can rely on to come and get their queries, their questions, anything related to their engagement with that brand answered right there. Mm-hmm. But you could also go ahead and build something fantastically massive out that actually solves a lot of pain problems. I mean, in the coaching and consulting industry, we worked with some coaches, and essentially, there's all of these steps that people need to go through in order to validate you that they've never met before. It sometimes can be a big investment for people to come and trust a coach or a consultant with their business, with their life, with their relationship. And so they need to know, who you are, who you've served. So, it comes back to your story, comes back to the FAQs, comes back to the services, comes back to those free value propositions. Imagine as a consultant, you're on vacation with your family, your friends, your partner, whomever, and you have tens tens of thousands, that's a bit of a stretch, but you have, a lot of people coming in to your chatbot, and they're validating you through this experience that you don't necessarily have to be there. And the reason I bring that up is because that's another sticking point that a lot of people have objections to. They think, well, a chatbot isn't a great way to build a relationship. I am not here to say that it is or it isn't, but I'm here to challenge the notion that, they're not here to replace that human element. They're here to assist it. They're that initial first touch point, right? What are you going to do when someone gets on a live call with you and say, all they have is the website? They're going to ask you probing questions. They're going to ask, who you've worked with, what kind of results you have, all of those things that we're putting in that chatbot that can do that in a fun, interactive, engaging way. And most of all is that those people have the ability to do it on their own time. Say you're picking up your kid at school, you checked out the testimonials. Well, kid's in the car, I got to go grocery shopping. That conversation is left off exactly where you left it, whether that's on your website, whether that's in Messenger, whether that's through social media, and then you can come back to it and go through it. Whereas if I have to book a live call with someone, a realtor, a coach, a consultant, I have that 30-minute time slot, an hour, 45 minutes, whatever that may be. And at the end of the day, if you don't get all the questions answered, you might go back to the website. But the website is very static. This is the dynamic conversation via text, via auditory, that has that simulated human-like feeling, but you're providing that value at scale.
And so one of the things that I'm just super interested in, and part of why I created this podcast and really what my brand is about, is like, how do you make such an amazing first impression or impact with people where the return from that is exponentially multiplied? And so that's part of why I think this is so fascinating. And I think at some point I will be a client of yours, because I really, really just I can think of a number of different applications where I wish someone had done this for me. And some people will want to have that, they'll just want to book a phone call with you and move on. But then other people aren't going to want that. And they're going to want to have something that's more at their pace. And I guess part of maybe the challenge here is that it may be hard to measure, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but what I'm thinking is it may be hard to measure or to extrapolate with your clients, here's the ROI that you can expect, because really it's more about right now you're missing opportunities and you don't know what you're missing because you don't have this on your website. And really the way you would have to measure it is put it on and see how many more opportunities come through because of that. So right now it's kind of like you don't know what you're missing because it's not there. Does that sound about right as far as how someone would think about it?
Yes. I mean, a lot of people think of this as sometimes just being a brand awareness tool, and it's tougher to measure ROI, but it's both yes and no. No being that, say for a customer service element, if you're building a chatbot that can answer people's questions, you can tangibly say, well, it would take an employee X amount of minutes to respond to this question. Their salary costs this much, and a chatbot takes 10 seconds to respond to it versus something that took an employee 3 minutes. We get 50 inquiries a day, multiply that by week, by month. You can tangibly see the amount of money that you're saving your company, but also the amount of happy customers that you're also going to be getting based on the sentiment in the chatbot. Also, you can take a look at, from the brand awareness perspective, we haven't really dove into the marketing side of this. And this is something, I'm not going to go too deep into this because we're keeping it pretty high level, but I just wanted to add this, is that in Facebook Messenger, the Messenger platform is part of, the Facebook family, right? So you have Instagram, WhatsApp was going to be opening their API soon. It's already in beta, but essentially what you have is through Messenger, if you have a Messenger chatbot, you can run ads directly to your Messenger chatbot. They're called Messenger ads, and you can do that through Instagram and Facebook. And essentially the way that people market these days is that, if I'll use, a coach, a consultant as an example here, you put out an ad. Typically how you capture those people is you send them to a landing page. You're banking on them filling out their information. For those that don't, you retarget them. You have to pour in more money in order to get your brand, your face in front of them, to capture them, to have that at bat. What Messenger ads do is they skip the landing page. You can have an ad that essentially is a click to Messenger. So say your value proposition is free consultation, click the button below and you'll get a message in Facebook Messenger. The minute that they click that, remember what I said before, when people opt into it, they've become a subscriber to your chatbot. So as soon as they click that button and they opt in on the messenger end, you now have the ability to directly follow up with them without them having to do anything else. They could opt in and never, type anything further. Like I said, life comes up, we're not always there. Our attention gets pulled somewhere else. But you, as the business owner, as the consultant and coach, know the value in that conversation, so you can follow up with them instantaneously.
Wow.
And not to mention, even if someone comes in through that value prop of booking a free consultation, maybe they just saw it, they liked your video that you put up. So they click that, they go to Messenger, they book that free consultation. But now that whole chatbot ecosystem is there for them to navigate that they may have never known before. They're like, oh, wow, they have testimonials here. Oh, wow, Elyse has done this. Oh, wow, Elyse, serves these people. These are her clients. This is her story. I love her story. That's the whole element here, is that even with that one-dimensional focus through marketing, by getting people to opt in, you're automating that first engagement by giving them the ability to take a look at everything else that's under the hood without you having to interact with them.
Wow. I mean, this has been so enlightening for me. I feel like I got
fun.
this. It's very cool to me. And I'm not a super like techie nerd person. That's usually something techie nerd. Wow. Sorry. That sounded really bad. That's just not my sweet spot. I don't have the engineer's mind. So thank you for making this very high level for somebody like me, or for some of my listeners who kind of think the same way as I do. But this has been super enlightening. So just as we start to wrap up here, any final like words of wisdom for people who are looking to build better relationships with their clients, with their prospects, with their network? Anything you would say to people who are really looking to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, it's that I found over the last couple of years is that education is a huge element here. And so I hope people, when they hear that word chatbot, I tend to gravitate more towards conversational commerce, because that's not a term that's widely spread yet, but more and more people are intrigued by that. Whereas, you have that preface with chatbots, just as I did, just as you did, just as almost every other person that I speak to kind of, peel back the layers and understand more of how this can benefit you as a brand. Because as this space continues to progress, right now we're in the early adoption phase. And so the people that are jumping in, it's a wide open ocean for them to kind of navigate and provide value and provide that experience where their prospects and customers are like, wow, this is incredible. Whereas, further on down the line, 2, 3, 5 years, this space is not going away. More brands, bigger brands to smaller brands, massive companies to mom and pops, you're going to see more and more of them adopting this, as this is a channel that they cannot ignore. And so the reason why I love kind of talking about it is because it helps spread the word on this. And to educate people that this is not a space that's a fad. This is in fact the space that's coming into its own, and people are going to be adopting this at scale, as the years go by. And so the big winners right now are the early adopters.
That's awesome. Well, for somebody who really enjoyed this and wants to follow you online or wants to get in touch with you, maybe they want to learn more about chatbots for their business, what is the best way for people to follow you and learn more about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. You could check out my website, the agency website. It's royalwoodmedia.com. So RoyalWoodmedia.com. If you want to just connect, follow me on Instagram, Andrew Bilak, Andrew Bilak. Shoot me a DM. I'm happy to answer any questions. I also have a link if you want to schedule a quick call to just discuss this. I'm happy. There's no pressure, no commitment. I'm just happy to educate and let people know, so they don't kind of steer away when they hear that word chatbot and kind of gravitate toward it and understand the applications that are here. Because the benefit of having these success cases in all of these different industries is that there's a lot of similarities between them, and so we know what works, what doesn't work. So I'm happy to share that information to see if a conversational commerce strategy is a right fit for your business and brand. So just happy to connect with anyone.
That's great. Yeah. And that is one thing that I'll say just as we wrap here, as I've gotten to know you better since we met in Bermuda, is like you are very focused on educating and it's super low pressure. And I just appreciate that because I feel like you did that for everybody listening today. And you've done that for me as well. And so guys, definitely like be open-minded to this and be open-minded to what's something that you could do now that would position you in a place where you are ahead of the curve. And I think you're right, Andrew, like this is something that more and more people are going to be doing it. So it is a good time to consider doing something like this for your business. So whether you do it or not, follow Andrew. I mean, your Instagram is awesome. You've got pictures, beautiful pictures with your wife, and you guys are traveling, and it's like lots of fun to see more of the more personal side of what you guys do too. So definitely connect with him and follow him. And I appreciate you and the time you took to educate all of us today on conversational commerce. And you've definitely opened my eyes to a lot. So thank you.
I'm super grateful to be here and for you to, have this experience and be able to, share my story, share what you're doing. Super grateful to be here with you and Bailey as well. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
It's my pleasure. Hey, everybody, until next time, thanks so much for joining today. And I will be back soon with another episode of the Instant Impact Podcast.